Welcome back to the next section of Visual Studio Code and Docker training. In this section, we're going to talk about power user mode and really understand where we get all the great features and workarounds, tips and tricks, and our workflows generally. Let's take a look exactly what we're going to learn in this section. All right. First, we're going to learn how to bootstrap a new project. And this is really amazing because we're going to bootstrap a project without writing a single line of code. We're basically going to point Visual Studio Code and the Docker extension at our Python application. And it's going to write a Docker file, Docker compose, debug. It's going to do all these great things for us simply by bootstrapping this project. Next up, we're going to do a lab where I'm going to walk you through step by step exactly how we're going to bootstrap and then how we're going to interact with this project as well. Next section is writing Docker files. We're going to understand within the Docker extension how we can write Docker files, how the command completion works, and how we can query the Docker Hub directly from Visual Studio Code. We're going to also do the lab, so we can walk along together and understand exactly how the writing works and how the auto completion works, documentation, etc., within the Docker file, within Dockerfiles. Next section is connecting to hosts. We're going to learn how to use Docker context within Visual Studio Code so we can connect to different hosts using Visual Studio Code. What that means is basically I can use Visual Studio Code to connect to a cloud server, to different Docker hosts without ever leaving Visual Studio Code. This is quite amazing because it improves your workflow because you don't have to SSH, you don't have to do RDP, all these things. You basically just change the context and then your Visual Studio Code automatically connects to this environment as if you're local. Really quite cool. Again, we're going to do the lab. We'll walk you through how to set up Docker context, and then we're going to walk through switching the different context. And finally, since this is such an action-packed section, we're going to recap exactly everything we learned in this section. But since we're talking about power user mode, with great power comes great responsibility. As I mentioned, the Docker context, we can actually connect to servers, and that sometimes means we can connect to production. We need to be very careful how we use these things and how we stop and start things within Visual Studio Code. You need to make sure you're connected to the right service, the right server, and make sure if you are connected to production that you're not shutting things down by accident. So just keep that in mind. With power comes great responsibility, as Ben Parker said in Spider-Man. So keep that in mind. Let's get started in the next section and bootstrap our new project.